Welcome back, listeners, to Cosmic Confluence. Now, let's be real. We all say we want peace, clarity, a healthy mind. Then life happens. A message you didn't expect, a memory you didn't ask for, a random day where your nervous system it chooses chaos. Listeners, today's conversation, it is about consciousness, the nature of existence, and what it actually means to build a healthy mind in the real world, not just as a vibe, but as a practice. Now, as you all know, I'm Sana, and we are going straight today into the deep end, in a grounded way, of course. With help of my guest, Jem Fuller, he is on a mission to help people create habitual perspectives and practices that bring ease, flow, and success. He believes conscious communication matters. Mindfulness meditation is a game changer. Authenticity is key, and radical self acceptance is the doorway to future potential. He also emphasizes nature, love, balance, and relationships because, honestly, and this is so true, listeners, your mind doesn't heal in isolation. All right, so let's get into it. And Jen, welcome to the Cosmic Conference, and it's really an honor to have you here.
Oh, Sana, it's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for such a lovely introduction.
Hmm. Jim, I think this is such a challenging question, because it can have so many meanings out there. But um, when you say healthy mind, what do you mean? It's such a fundamental question. What do you mean by that? And especially when life is so messy.
Yeah, well, we can think of our mind like a garden, and if we leave the garden unattended, then all sorts of things will grow, and it can grow a little bit wild and a little bit unruly, and perhaps there are, things growing in the garden that are not so pleasant for you, and it can be a little bit chaotic. But if we tend to a garden, and we give love to the garden and curate the garden, we can grow any garden we want. We can grow a beautiful garden that is pleasing to us. And of course, we must grow the garden in accordance with nature. So, what are the natural plants that grow well there, and which flowers bloom well, and the seasons and the time? But it takes um, attention. It takes time to curate and cultivate the garden just as it does with your mind. And the reason I think it's important to dedicate some time to cultivating a healthy mind is because when you think about it, our whole experience of everything is in our mind. Even the experience of the body, we consciously become aware of that in our mind. So your body may have a sensation or a feeling, but you process that feeling in your mind. Your whole visual field, all of the light that enters your eyes is represented on a visual screen in your mind. And everything that you hear, it reaches your ears as vibrations, and it's turned into digital messaging through your auditory system, and then it's represented and you hear the sounds in your mind. And so the quality of our mind matters. Think about it like this. If you are really struggling, and say you're having a very tough day, and the quality of your mind is struggling, or maybe there's anxiety, you're experiencing anxiety or depression, or even just struggle inside your mind, and you walk out into the day, your perception of that day is dark and stormy and dangerous and fearful, and then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you experience the world like that, and then it actually impacts the reality of your day because of your perception. Whereas if you walk out into the same day, so the weather is the same, the people on the street are the same, Everything outside in the world is the same, but your state of mind is different. Just say you've had
Mm.
some very good news, like a dear friend. Maybe some friends have been trying to get pregnant for years and they
Mm.
finally had their child, and it's a celebration day and everybody's happy, and you walk out and your state of mind is happy. You walk into the same day and you have a completely different experience of the same day. And then your day becomes even a better day because you're smiling and you meet happy people and fortuitous things happen and good luck happens. And, you know, your whole experience becomes a different experience. Why? Because your state of mind was different. So we can cultivate our state of mind. And this is not to say that we don't still experience pain and grief and,
Mm.
bad things, but it just means that our our equilibrium, our foundation, our place that we return to, we can cultivate this place to be a place of inner peace and beauty. And that just, but to do that, we need to dedicate time to doing that.
That's such a beautiful explanation, Jem. And I think this explanation itself is so evident of, how I mean, because when you were explaining, like you gave an example, let's say our friends who are trying to get pregnant and now they are so happy. I think the way your words, it gives signals to our auditory nerves, to our ears, it goes to our brain, mind, and heart. And we kind of picture this, and that brings a smile on, you know, maybe our listeners are smiling right now. I was smiling when you were, describing it. I think that itself is such a kind of an evidence, that how receptive we are, but maybe sometimes there is a kind of a veil that, or kind of a fog that is kind of
Mhm.
blocking all these emotions and feelings within us.
Yeah. Yes, so true. And what you just pointed out, Sana, is a key to a practice to generate a state of well-being and joy and
Mm.
love. And so there's a beautiful meditation. And if you went into the traditional meditation, they might call it metta, which is loving kindness. But it's very simple to sit and close your eyes and slow your breathing, and then just notice your breath, and then take your attention to your heart chakra, which is the energy center in the middle of your chest. Just take your energy there, and you don't need to believe in the chakras or energy systems or spirituality or any of this for this to work. It works whether you are spiritual or religious or whether you are an atheist and a pragmatist, it still works. So take your attention to the middle of your chest, and as you breathe in, imagine that you send the oxygen to the middle of your chest. Imagine you can feel a warm glowing in your heart chakra. Then, as you do this, simply bring to your mind someone that you love, someone you have a very easy relationship with, someone that you care deeply for. Just imagine them, and then imagine them at their happiest. Imagine them when they have that big smile on their face, and maybe they're so happy they're doing a little happy dance. Something wonderful just happened for them. Just picture them in that moment doing their happy dance and smiling, and send them love. And just say in your mind, I wish you happiness. I wish you to be free from suffering. I wish you
Mhm.
happiness. And as you do this, notice the effect that it has on you. Just notice the subtle shift in your energy field, in your mood, in your emotions. Now, if you do this practice for just 2 minutes every day, I guarantee you it will have a beautiful, sustainable, long lasting positive impact on the quality of your mind.
Of course, of course. And Jim, like if this is possible, why it isn't, kind of not introduced, or maybe why aren't we exposed to this, or to the fact that it is possible um, to cultivate the plants, to grow beautiful flowers in the garden, which is our healthy mind. Um, in maybe in our education system or in our societal conditioning, like why is it always focusing on something so at the opposite side of the spectrum, like um, probably to invigorate more negative emotions, more reactions triggering? Why is it not, why doesn't it get so much of importance out there?
I believe that there are two fundamental forces that drive everything, and they are opposing each other, or they are at least balancing each other on the scale of life. So at
Mm.
one end, you have fear,
Mm.
and fear is a strong force. And fear has actually helped us evolve as a species from times of scarcity and danger. You know, when we were a species on the savannah plains and there were lions coming to eat us. And our old reptilian brain is where the fear is produced as an immediate reaction to something. So if you and I were walking through the forest and we hear a rustling in the leaves beside us, the first thing that happens for both of us is a fear reaction. It's like, is it a snake? Or is it a tiger? Or is it something? This is very old wiring. And so the fear come fuels the scarcity, and the fear fuels that reaction. And the fear then has driven us through the ages as well to end up in societies where we focus on the things to try and avoid scarcity, to try and avoid not having enough food or money or power or social standing, or that we're not enough. It's focused on we're not enough. And then we all have developed a slight neurosis of feeling like we're not good enough. I'm not enough, right? This has all come from that. But on the other end of this scale of energy is love. And love is a beautiful, powerful force as well. And love is abundance. Love is, of course, I'm enough. And there is enough. There's enough love. There's enough resource. There's enough time. We have enough. And if we evolve well enough, that there is enough resource on the whole planet. If we could organize ourselves, nobody would need to go without food or shelter. Now, I know that's an ideal. I'm not saying that we'll necessarily do that, but this is the opposite end of the scale of fear. We
Yeah.
have love. And so when we sit and meditate love in this way, it's healthy for us. And I believe that as a species, we're evolving. Our consciousness is experiencing itself through the manifestation of us and of all life, and that we
Mm.
are evolving in the direction of love. And so the old systems, I'm hoping, will become antiquated. I'm hoping they become outdated, and that our schools will become places where we teach our children from a place of love, not fear. And this is the mission that I'm on.
No, but it's actually very empowering, and I believe it holds so much relevance in today's day and age, where this kind of this manufacturing of hatred or polarization, rage bait. I think this word has gained so much kind of a popularity right now that it's always easy to trigger people based on hatred
Yeah.
or violence.
Yeah. And look, I think that the fear fuels ego, and we all have our own individual ego. And then there's collective ego. There's an ego of collective groups of people. Like there's an ego of a sense of identity of what it is to be a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim. There's also a sense of identity of what it is to be Indian or Australian or American, or to barrack for this cricket team or that soccer team. There's a collective ego. And for humanity, There's a collective ego which is fueled by fear. And when the ego feels threatened, it fights to hold on, to try and survive. And so it's almost like there's this dying aspect of humanity, which is the ego, the fear-driven ego. And at the moment, it's having a tantrum like a 3-year-old that is screaming and crying and punching the ground and kicking the floor and screaming, no, 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 no. And it's like the ego of humanity is having a tantrum right now because the spirit of humanity is expanding. Our consciousness, our love is expanding. And that's scary for the ego because the ego feels threatened. But what the current ego of humanity doesn't understand is that it can re-identify. We can re-identify. We can upgrade and evolve our sense of who we are. We can move to a sense of humanity 2.0, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and and that can happen. It will happen if we can get through this tricky time.
Mm, definitely. As you mentioned about consciousness, like you talk about, you also explain, like, meditation, like how we can develop the mind through mindfulness meditation. What exactly changes within us, Jim, when we practice it consistently?
What changes is that we develop our ability to sit beyond being identified with the experience. So when we're identified with any experience, whether it's an emotional or a mental or a physical experience,
Mm,
we are trapped inside that experience and we are convinced that that experience is us. So
mm,
when we're experiencing an emotion like anger, we say, I am angry, as in that's who I am. And when we are identified with it, it is um, it can be unbearable and at least very unpleasant, and we stay stuck with it because it's our sense of identity. When we practice mindfulness, which is the practice of observation, simply noticing what we can notice with no attachment, no judgment, no story, just simply noticing. Over time, we develop the ability to sit beyond the experience and just simply notice it. So we are free from it. And the experience occurs, whether it's physical pain or emotional or mental or joy or ecstasy or anything, whether it's looping thoughts. And as you come to a place of noticing with non attachment, that too shall pass. And it passes much faster, much more easily, effortlessly. It changes because everything is always changing.
mm.
You think about every emotion you've ever felt came and went. Every
Right.
thought you ever had came and went. Everything comes and goes. But when we grab onto it and hold onto it and identify with it, it can stay around longer than is necessary and we can get trapped. So mindfulness meditation frees us from this.
Mm. It's like the universe, which is ever expanding.
Yes, 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 we are. Well, it's all fractals, right? We are the universe and the universe is us and the universe exists in the cells of our body and I mean, it's beautiful that the distances between the atomic elements like atoms and neutrons and protons, the distances between them are equivalent to the distances between the astral bodies, the stars and the planets. Everything is represented in the macro and the micro, and nothing is separate. Our ego would have us believe that we are a separate individual thing, but that's an illusion. The reality is that we are intrinsically and inseparably a part of the energetic field of God, of Source. That can't be denied. But the ego tries to convince us we're separate from everything, but we're absolutely not.
I agree. I agree. Jim, in the interest of time, of course, I think our listeners they would be so intrigued now to explore more on, how they can get started. Of course, it will take its own sweet time, but I'm very sure they would love to explore more of the wisdom that you are sharing. And if they would like to connect with you, what would be the easiest way?
Well, the easiest way is I would like to offer your listeners a gift, which is free access to my mindfulness meditation made easy course. And so if they go to jemfuller.com, jemfuller.com, click on courses, go to the mindfulness course on the checkout page. In the coupon code box, just put the word my gift. So all as one word, my gift, and it will make the course free and you can download it forever. And I'll guide you through an introduction to mindfulness meditation.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listeners, that is so generous, right? So just refer to the show notes along with this episode on your preferred podcast platform. Check out Jem's Mindfulness Meditation Made Easy course, and also check out his other resources. And Jem, I really appreciate this conversation because it's not simply selling enlightenment. It is about responsibility, and the kind of responsibility that doesn't shame us. So thank you so much, for this beautiful and such a practical, grounded take.
Oh, Sana, thank you. It's been a really lovely conversation. You have such an adorable voice. Your voice is so easy to talk with and listen to. I could listen
Oh,
to you for hours. I'm sorry we had to be so short, but maybe we can chat again.
absolutely, absolutely. And let me also tell you, and for the listeners as well, I don't know, but personally, I believe listening to you, and especially like the storytelling here, the how you describe, I think it's so meditative. Actually, I think that's the word that I would use. And why am I saying is because sounds, they invigorate such kind of emotions like calmness, peace, or a kind of a settling feeling within us. And it is scientific, and it is also physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. So thank you so much once again, Jim. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning into Cosmic Confluence. Um, like, let me tell you that, a healthy mind, it isn't a permanent high, and consciousness is noticing what's happening without letting it run your whole life. So, until next time, this is your host, Sana, and do share this episode with your loved ones or your friends, or maybe someone you argue, but with still you care about. And that counts as a conscious communication too. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, and this has been Cosmic Confluence. Thank you.